All right. Hello, everyone. It's Mr. Enriquez here with Dave Gutierrez, the author of our book that we're going to be reading in class, Patriots from the Barrio. How are you doing, Dave?
Good, outstanding. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're hoping just to had a few questions I wanted to ask you, and share with the students a little bit, get them excited about the book, and it's a great book and a great opportunity for them to read this book. And so, just kind of starting off, what is the story about? What is Patriots from the Barrio about?
Well, I originally set out to write my cousin's World War II story. And through research, I realized that he had served in the only all Mexican-American U.S. Army unit in World War II. So the focus of the story shifted from telling one man's story to the entire unit's story. And I just wanted to make sure that I captured their story and record it and document it in a way that we could pass this information along. I was absolutely amazed that there was an all Mexican-American U.S. Army unit in World War II, and really honored that I had a relative who had served in the unit.
Great, yeah, it's a great story. And so from this story, like what do we learn about World War II that we didn't maybe know before, or like does your book kind of challenge our understanding or change our understanding of the war itself in any way?
Well, one of the biggest concepts out there that I wanted to come across in the book is the Mexican-American contributions to World War II. Many people don't realize, because they don't see it in our history books, that over 350,000 Mexican-Americans served in World War II.
Mhm.
And the problem is that we have not been able to record and document those stories.
Mhm.
And that is a big piece for me. When I first found this out, I was just like, I have to get this story out there. So that is the main focus of the story, is the Mexican-American contributions to World
Mhm.
War II. And I was able to do that by following this entire unit from the Barrios of Texas all the way through their training, and we followed them through North Africa and on the battlefields of Italy during World War II.
Great, great. And I did notice, when I read the book, as I read about the unit fighting through Italy,
Mhm.
it goes against kind of maybe, and I think you put in there, like there's a lot of emphasis on Normandy, on France, and we kind of study the history of, like, with arrows, armies marching up the boot of Italy, but we
Right.
see how brutal this fighting was, how fierce it was in Italy. Something that I got out of that book, as well.
Good, good, because a lot of people, when you talk about World War II, they start thinking about D-Day and what happened from D-Day on.
Mhm.
And, after North Africa, the Germans were expelled from North Africa, uh, the Allies landed. Their first D-Day was on the Salerno beachhead
Mhm.
in Italy. Now, there was fighting going on in the Pacific with against the Japanese uh, Navy, pretty much, and Army. But I wanted to emphasize how important it was for the American people back home. This is September of 1943. D-Day hadn't happened yet.
Mhm.
So all America was riveted on what was happening in Italy during this time.
Good. And so, how did you go about doing your research? You mentioned it was a cousin of yours, with the main characters. How did you approach the research for this book?
Well, one of the first things I did was I started reading everything there was about Company E, 141st Infantry, and the 36th Infantry Division. So anything that mentioned them, I got my hands on. I wanted to capture that knowledge and to be able to speak about it. So basically, every book about the 36th Division I had read. And then I was lucky enough to connect with the Texas Military Forces Museum in Austin. And they have an extensive record of the 36th Infantry Division in World War II. Well, all of their history even goes back to the Civil War. And the 141st Infantry dates back to the Alamo, actually before the Alamo. It is the longest fighting unit in the state of Texas. So a lot of history with that. So the 36th Division, or the museum, I should say, the Texas Military Forces Museum, was able to, I was able to obtain their after-action reports. So I was able to follow them along day to day about what was happening to them. And then really what was a big piece for me was genealogy research. Genealogy research is what really got me started on all this. I wanted to find out more about my family history, and I kept running across newspaper articles about my cousin Ramon, who had served in the unit. And knowing how to use genealogy research, once I obtained a roster of Company E with all of their names and where they were from, I used genealogy research to connect with the families of these men that served with my cousin. And after a span of 5 years, I would connect with over 60 different families of the men that served in Company E to be able to tell their story.
Great. And do you have any advice for students? I refer to my students in class as historians. I tell them we're all historians in class. Do you have any advice for students as when they do research, like, any kind of tips you would give to them or encouragement?
Yeah, I would. One of the things that you'd have to do is you have to make sure you're very passionate about your subject, because you're going to run into roadblocks. People are going to tell you no. It's that passion that will get you past all these roadblocks that you're going to be able to, hopefully your passion gets you over these roadblocks. One of the things I did was, it took a while, like it took 5 years to write the book. So you have to stay really focused on what you're doing. So one of the things that really helped me was, whatever your subject is, find a picture that shows that subject or what you're writing about. So in my case, it was my cousin Ramon. So I had a picture of him in uniform. And what I did was I posted that photo right by my bedside. Every morning when I woke up, I would see that photo and it would remind me, what are you going to do for him today?
That's cool.
And vice versa, when you go to bed at night, you ask yourself, what did you do for him today? And that was the one thing that really made me stay focused on it.
Good advice. That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much. And just one last question, or do you have a message for our students at Santa Paula High School? They haven't received the books yet. They should be getting them this week, but do you have anything you'd like to share with them or tell them during this time?
Well, I would say to them to go ahead and read the book, get excited about the story, because Hollywood has gotten involved with the story, where the fact that Hollywood actor-producer Wilmer Valderrama, and for your students, they probably know him as Fez on that 70s show. Wilmer has obtained the film rights to the book, and he's looking to produce a TV series based on the true story.
Great. Oh, that's great. Great news, and congratulations to you and all your hard work.
Thank you.
Book. So, well, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today. And I know students are excited. There's a little buzz going on in our classroom, on our Google Classroom right now, and they can't wait to get their hands on this book. And I'm looking forward to some great lessons. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you.